So let's talk a little bit about importing CAD geometries. ANSYS has numerous geometry interfaces that are available for commercial CAD systems, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, and even Parasolid geometries. So all of these geometries can be easily imported into ANSYS using any type of license. However, if you want to have something called an associative geometry interface, which means that, let's say you have SolidWorks installed and you have ANSYS installed, you can go ahead and change the model in SolidWorks, and ANSYS will automatically be linked to that model and update it in ANSYS Workbench. Now for this, you might need some special licenses, so once again you should contact your vendor regarding which geometry interface licenses you will need for your project. Now there are many different ways to import the geometry, but one of the ways is to go ahead and select cell number 3, which is called Geometry, and right-click on it, and then you will see the option here to import geometry. So here's where you can go ahead and click Browse, and you can browse for your different type of geometry. And if you click on this scroll menu here, you can see all the different types of compatible geometries that I can import. So I have the sat file, .sat file, which is extremely common. I have IGES files, I have Parasolid, I have Solid Edge, SolidWorks, etc. So let's just click Cancel for now. Now the next thing I want to mention are the properties when importing CAD geometries. So let's go ahead and click on cell number 3, Geometry, right-click, and click on Properties to open up the Properties pane window. You can also access this menu by clicking on View and then Properties. The Properties window will pop up here on the right side of Workbench. In order to get a better view of it, let's go ahead and close this Files window. We can either close it by clicking on this X here, or once again we can go into the View menu and click on Files to hide it. So I will not be going over all of these options with you, but I will be going over the most important ones. So let's take a look at basic geometry options. As you can see here, you can filter what type of geometry you want ANSYS to import into your project. The CAD file could contain solid bodies, surface, and line bodies, so it's up to you to decide what type of geometry you need. As you can see, by default, all of these 3 options are checked. However, this filter can be very useful at times to eliminate bodies that could cause problems during an import. Next are the parameters and attributes. An example of a parameter or attribute could be, for example, a defined dimension on the part, which is given a label or a name to it. So if these boxes are checked, ANSYS will by default import all the parameters and attributes defined in the source geometry file. But say you only want to import a specific parameter into ANSYS, here is where the parameter and attribute key come in. You can tell ANSYS to only import parameters or attributes that have this key or piece of text in it. So say we define a radius called fillet1 and another radius called ds underscore fillet1. If we leave this field blank, ANSYS will import both of these dimensions. However, if we input ds as a parameter key, ANSYS will only input ds underscore fillet1 as a parameter into ANSYS. Moving on to named selections, you can think of this as a group of surfaces or even as a specific point on a geometry that the user has given a name to. So for example, say in your CAD file you had a collection of 4 nuts and bolts, and the user created a group or named selection called bolts. ANSYS will also be able to import this type of feature. And the last option here is material properties, where if the material properties were defined in the external CAD program, they can be imported into ANSYS as well. Now I don't want to go into so much detail on advanced geometry options, but you can see here that you can also change the analysis type from 3D to 2D if you just want to do a 2D analysis. And you can also have the option to use associativity, as mentioned before. Let's say if you want to link up with an external CAD program such as SolidWorks and have real-time updates between them. And you can also import coordinate systems and many other features here which I will not cover, but once again you can find in the Help menu.